You are now listening to Fourth Down Fiasco, Season 2.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him turn back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver, unbelievable.
And welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football. Brought to you by BetStamp. BetStamp is the sports bookie of all sports bookies. They've got everything you need all in one place. They've got BetMGM, Bet365, Caesars, FanDuel, all the big name sports bookies all in one place just for you. So you can check them out at signupexpert.com/fiasco. Place a $10 bet because, you know, we got the WNBA in full swing right now. MLB is in full swing right now. We've got the NHL playoffs. We got the NBA playoffs. We got so many things that you can win so much money on if you just place a $10 bet. So again, that's signupexpert.com/fiasco. But with me, as always, today are my co-hosts and contributors, Danny Weber, Tanner Vinsky. How are y'all, fellas?
Sorry,
Danny, Danny, not a word came out of your mouth just then.
I am absolutely fine, and that explains how my evening has gone so far.
We won't dive too much into it, but Danny is currently dealing with he was in a car accident recently, and it wasn't his fault, but the person whose fault it was is playing some unfair games right now. So
We're playing hardball.
Yeah, so that's been a journey for Danny today. Tanner, how are you? How are things?
Oh, it's been busy, but I'm excited to talk about ball. So,
oh yes, very excited to talk about ball because week 1 of the ELF was this past weekend, and my God, was it a great weekend for football, fellas?
It was a good weekend. People always complain there were 3 blowouts, but hey, blowouts happen in football. It's week 1. Calm down.
Blowouts do happen, and I guess you could say the Vienna Prague game was also a blowout too, huh? So yeah.
They didn't even count that one a blowout. Wroclaw, Berlin, and Nordic.
Wroclaw, Berlin, and I forgot about the Storm did kind of.
Regardless of the blowouts, though, the games that were close were very close and were a lot of fun.
Yes, agreed. And so,
even the 20-7 game with Munich, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that was very close until the final 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a couple of these games where the score doesn't even really tell the full story, you know. The Munich Raiders Tyrol game is a great example of that. But, you know, the Rhein-Fire Paris matchup, that lived up to the hype. Every ounce of that game was incredible. I was so surprised by how good Paris's defense looked. And my God, they are letting these boys hit this season. Oh, yeah. Phenomenal.
I saw one flag on like a hit to a defenseless receiver when there should have probably been like 15.
Yeah. There was a lot of times where I was like, wow, I'm surprised they didn't throw a flag on that. But are you talking about the one from the Hamburg game?
There were a couple. There was a Vienna dude that got upended. The Hamburg guy got laid out. There were a couple hits that were like,
there were a couple of times, you know, when the flags were thrown out, they were hits where I was like, all right, that even back in like the 90s would have been considered a penalty. So
the one I saw was a hit to the head.
Yeah.
But he still got it anyway.
Was the helmet to helmet. So is what it is. But yeah, phenomenal first week. Anything stand out to you fellas from any of these games?
Daniel, have you go first, and I'll give my thoughts.
Hamburg might look better than we expected, or Madrid may look a lot worse than we expected. Ooh. But I think it's the first, not the latter.
Yeah.
And also, DJ Irons?
DJ Irons good? Friend of the pod?
5 tutties?
Woo! Ooh, that's crazy.
Box score doesn't look all too hot. I mean,
just
only
yards.
13 yards, but
Five
tutties?
tuds is 5 tuds.
Yeah.
5 tuds is 5 tuds. I mean, and it was one of those games where we do have to take with a grain of salt that this is against Farivar. And that with that, part of the reason why he didn't have a ton of yards is because Farivar was having to punt so much. And so, you can only get so many yards when you're starting at the 50 every time.
And when you have Devin Burrell returning punts, you don't have to go far.
Devin Burrell, the second coming of Devin Hester. Jesus Christ.
What is up with Rosloth and good returnmen? Kavonte Turpin, Devin Burrell.
You know
Especially
what?
his coach must be off the sauce or something.
For sure.
It's that pole in water. But
Tanner, did you collect your thoughts? Do you have them?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure Danny wasn't going to steal what I was thinking, because my 2 main takeaways are probably from the games that are going to get talked about the least, which are from the Berlin and Munich wins. One, I don't want to overreact to Berlin winning in the way they did, because like we were saying, Cologne probably might not make it to the end of the season.
Yeah.
So we don't want to, hype them up too much, but based on the way Jacob Sullivan was playing, I think he's going to be very close in the MVP talks, I think, this season. Like, regardless of how bad Berlin is, his stats are going to be insane. I mean, he was constantly finding the open receiver. And even though a lot of his receivers were open against Cologne, I mean, he knows how to read the defense. And I think we're going to be shocked to see the numbers that Sullivan's going to put up this season. And with Munich, even though like the game was very close, Munich was rolling. I mean, Munich looked good on all of their possessions. I love what that offense is doing. Their defense was smothering the entire game. Tyrol wasn't able to get anything. Yeah. So Munich's one of those teams where I look at it, and I think I put them all the way up to 7. I could see Munich shocking one of the top teams if they get a draw. Like, Munich has a lot of potential in my eyes, and I'm very excited to see what they do this season.
Yeah. Tabor looked a little rusty, but he's a rookie. First game in the LF, you never know what to expect.
Yeah.
Rodney looked great at running back, and Malik Stanley once again shows why he's part of the 11.
Stanley. Yeah, no, I mean, Munich, to have won such a close game, I mean, they kept shooting themselves in the foot. To your point, Tanner, their offense was rolling when they were rolling. It was just, they had 2 fumbles and a pick, right?
Yep.
2 picks and a fumble.
2 picks and a fumble. There we go.
Yeah, 3 turnovers.
Yeah, 3 turnovers, and you still win by 13. And if you clean up those turnovers, I mean, 2 of them were, in or near the red zone. And so, we could be looking at a game that could have very easily have been 34-7, 37-7. So, if they clean that up, yeah, they're gonna be a problem. I was very surprised at how well Munich looked. Also, I would like to, I know that they lost and the box score looks worse than it is for sure. But Prague's defense, I think, held their own against Vienna.
Oh, until the second half, 100%.
And really the only reason why Vienna was, able to put up the points that they did, Prague's defense was tired because their offense just couldn't do anything.
Nope.
Yeah.
But Prague's defense looked very formidable, and if they could figure out anything on the offensive side of the ball, Prague has something that they can build on, which is good.
Yeah, and they were missing one of their starting A imports. Jalen Embry did not play. They had to bring in a dude from Finland. But along that line, Helvetic, almost all the first half, their defense held their own. I mean, before you even got with 10 minutes left in the second quarter, just over halfway in the second quarter, it was 13-6. And then Nordic scored, put it at 19-6. And then this was a wild play. It looked like NFL Street. I don't know if you guys played that growing up.
Oh, sure.
There was a pitch route you could do, but if you were on defense, you could jump the pitch. That is exactly what happened. I think it was Ludwig Myron. He just jumped the pitch Like they just pitched it out to the running back and he just swatted it out of the air. It was wild. And that just opened the floodgates, and then it was no looking back for Nordic.
Hell yeah. Well, the another big takeaway that I had was, Stuttgart's going to be a problem. I know the game was 33-20, but, 2 of Frankfurt's touchdowns were in garbage time. And this is a Frankfurt team that, at least the other experts, aside from us, if I loosely say experts for us, the other experts besides us have said repeatedly that Frankfurt is supposed to be a really good roster this year. And Stuttgart's defense smothered the shit out of them. The offense was able to get whatever they want. There was a play where, Frankfurt disguised a blitz, man. Riley Hennessy, turned around over the shoulder on the run, passed it out to Cotton Jr., who, tiptoes in the corner of the end zone. Beautiful play, some beautiful backyard football, if we're being completely honest. And they just made it look effortless. Whole game, they just kind of cruised. It didn't... they took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter. That's how, Frankfurt was able to get some points, playing some prevent defense and whatnot. But it was never a question for them.
No, yeah. Their wide receiver core, along with Kai Hunter and Owewu, looks scary.
Ooh, oh, yeah. Whoa.
Owewu looks real good.
Yeah, that brother. when Riley told us he was the truth, I was like, okay. But after seeing that game, I was like, oh, I see what y'all see now. So very good game.
Yeah.
So with that, fellas, unless there are any final thoughts before we dive into awards, I'd like to. Are we good to do that?
I think if week 1 is a preview of the rest of the next 11 weeks, or 14 weeks, whatever it is, we're going to be in for a treat.
I quite agree with that. And I hope that it is, because, I had a blast with all of this.
And one last thing. Cologne still put up 14 points with a German quarterback. He actually played pretty well. They're getting an American in. Yeah, they're getting an American in. Maybe they could upset Farivar. Who knows? Maybe they won't go 0-12. We'll find out. Who knows? Yeah,
they're getting a much needed bye week this upcoming week, so hopefully they can figure out the situation.
Bless you.
Thank you.
But so with that, week 1 awards. Tanner, would you like, since you already started talking about him, would you like to be the one to let the audience know who our dog of the week is?
Big Dawg of the week.
So it was pretty much decided just right after that game because no one was going to match his production. Jacob Sullivan had 7 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Like, ridiculous. It's one of those things where he was just getting anything he wanted looking down the field. And again, like we talked about, maybe some of that has to do with Cologne not having a great defense, not having great DBs. But at the same time, 7 touchdowns against any roster is still 7 touchdowns. If you look at the NFL, I think there's only been 4 or 5 players who have ever thrown 7 touchdowns in a game. I'll find the exact stat, but I know Nick Foles is one, which is kind of funny. But it's very seldom that you are able to consistently find an open receiver like that. And I think a lot of what happens with Jacob Sullivan is he gets underrated as a player just due to the teams that he typically finds himself on. But he consistently puts up the numbers to show that he is one of the top guys in the ELF, at least as a passing threat. I'm very excited to see going forward where Jacob Sullivan lands with the other QBs and what type of numbers he puts up, because I think no matter who he pulls, I think he's consistently putting up multiple touchdowns per game. He's consistently going to find his receivers. And he had the challenge of he wasn't just able to rely on one of his receivers this game. He had, 10 different It was 10 different receivers that he had his 22 completions
22
through.
completions to 10 guys.
22 of 24. We should also toss that in there too.
92% completion percentage. Absurd.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so
but
a perfect pass rate.
Forget a little bit. He led the league in passing yards last year. Yes, Berlin went 6-6, but he was almost 200 yards above Zach Edwards at number 2.
Well, I mean, there was a time midway through the season because Berlin, I believe, had a winning record whenever I put this out. I did that little mid-season MVP thing, and he was on the list, and he had every right to be on the list.
Yeah. But what's funny is, he only had 25 touchdowns last year. He's at 7 in one game.
Jeez. Yeah.
Okay. He wears number 7. Do you think he threw the 7th and then he said, "All right, coach, take me out," and then they put in their backup then? Or was he just threw 7 and they just took him out?
I think that, I think the coach of Berlin just said, "All right, enough ass whooping, enough belt to ass. Let the kids go home."
Yeah. So since 1970, the NFL has only had 3 different quarterbacks to throw 7 touchdowns. I gave you guys Nick Foles. Do you want to take some guesses on who the other 2 are?
Dak Prescott.
Tom Brady.
Nope. I'll give you one more strike.
Peyton Manning.
There you go. Peyton is one of them.
I knew that.
Give me Drew Brees.
There you go. He got the other.
Ooh.
So those are the 3 QBs who have thrown 7 touchdowns since 1970. Bunch of guys did it in the 60s. Shout out.
I remember when Peyton Manning did that. That was the 2015 season, wasn't it? Or 2014 season?
Yeah.
It was 2015 because he threw 55 touchdowns that season.
Yeah.
So.
And then fell off a cliff in 2016.
Yeah.
But got a ring, so who cares?
He had an Achilles injury or whatever it was, ankle. Yeah. He was worse than Big Ben.
Oh, yeah. He was terrible his last season. Regardless, though, massive accomplishment by Jacob Sullivan to throw 7 touchdowns in a game.
Yeah, no matter how bad the competition is, especially, again, going 22 of 24, even if you don't have any defenders on the field, just completing 22 of 24 passes with guys running full speed is hard to do on its own. And then, you added even the slightest bit of just warm bodies on the field, honestly, and that makes it more difficult. So, the fact that
one was a 97-yard touchdown as well. 92-yard touchdown.
Man. At 412 yards right through the air? I believe
413.
413.
I lied, actually. Sorry. The Cologne receiver had a 92-yard touchdown.
Oh.
The long for Berlin was 54 by Mr. Goggin himself, who had 166 yards.
Mm-hmm. Well, since you brought up Goggin, I know that he's an honorable mention here, but let's talk about the unsung hero, Daniel.
So the second of our 2 awards. This was tough. We were going back and forth about this one for a while. It was
Goggin got the honorable mention.
Bryce Goggin, or the person who won it, Mr. Special Teams Player of the Year, Devin Burrell.
Yep, had to.
He had a pick 6, a punt return for a touchdown, 126 total return yards. He had 2 tackles to go with that and 2 pass breakups.
Yeah.
Also, if you did not see his pick 6 return, you need to go watch that and tell me how many tackles he broke on that. Because it had to be 7, right?
I counted 6, but yes, it was. It looked like something out of a NCAA video game. It was ridiculous. Yeah. It's like whenever Alabama has to play Southern Alabama,
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Street 2 again. Twice in 2 episodes, and who cares? But when you get that game changer effect, when you get all those bonus points and you're just untackleable, that's what he looked like.
Yeah, dude, it was just oh, this guy missed. Oh, both of those guys missed. And then you're starting to think, is he really going to do it? And then you see a 4th guy, you're no, that guy has the angle. Oh, he missed. How is he still up? 5.
He still had the energy to front flip into the end zone.
Elite level athlete. Yeah. Honestly, Burrell might be one of those guys who, because he is being a special team specialist is something that translates really well to any league. I could see him pulling a Kevontae Turpin and getting snagged by an NFL team because that is one of those, again, special talents that if you have it, those are hard to find, and it translates well to any league at any time. If you're fast, elusive, and you have great, ball carrier vision, and you excel on kickoffs and punt returns, there's a spot for you in the NFL. So,
absolutely. If you know how to find your lanes, you can succeed as a return man in any league.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, and hitting those holes hard and fast. Pause.
He is fast.
Yes, he is. So, Unsung Hero goes to Devin Burrell. Again, honorable mention, Bryce Goggin, who had himself a day as well. Danny, do you have his stats pulled up by chance?
7 receptions on 7 targets, 166 yards, along with 54 for 2 touchdowns.
Yep, and he had himself a day as well. It was one of those that, the three of us had to really sit down and talk about it. So, Bryce, if you're listening, we'd appreciate it if you were, since, DJ, we got so many friends of the pod. You can be friend of the pod too. But, Bryce.
You got to earn it, though.
Yeah. Bryce was out there hooping, Bryce was hooping. And then that takes us to the Fiasco Players of the week. Wah, wah.
Before you announce who it was, we had to make a special exemption this week. It was supposed to be for A imports only. We were trying to piss off us Americans over here. But Jordan can take it away from here.
But fuck the French, always and forever. Look, Paris's O-line lost them the game, straight up. I'm going to be completely honest about it. Henderson was running for his life the entire game. They allowed 6 sacks. God knows how many QB pressures they allowed. Henderson was not able to set his feet for any of his throws. Paris loses by 2. Simply put, if Paris's offensive line could, stop a cold, for heaven's sake, we would be looking at a week 1 upset where the Rhine Fire lose. But because they couldn't stop anything, that's just unfortunately how the cookie crumbles. So the Fiasco Players of the week is the entire offensive line for Paris.
Yeah.
Sorry, fellas.
I think Henderson maybe completed a 3-step drop 1 time, maybe twice.
Dog just running for his life the whole time. I mean, I remember that last drive, because it was such a great game. Last drive, I'm thinking to myself, this is perfect. I'm like, this is going to be Henderson's welcome to the league moment where he's going to take Paris down the field. They're going to get to like the 20, kick a field goal with Dupont, who, who's doing a really good job that day of nailing all of his field goals and stuff.
Out of every other kicker in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And, I was like, they're going to win this thing 18-17 and somehow not complete the spread, because wasn't the spread 1 point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, this is going to be incredible, perfect for the league. We're all going to love it. And they didn't even get a first down on that drive, did they?
I think they got 1 and then he threw the pick.
They got 1 because of a penalty. That's why.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a penalty at that. It was I think that was a hit on a defenseless receiver.
Let's fact check each other. Where is it?
I do think I think Henderson took like 2 or 3 sacks on that final drive, though.
He took. So
it was bad.
The last drive for Paris went 7 plays for 18 yards. Started with a 3-yard rush, Henderson incomplete pass. Henderson rushed for a first down.
That's
the pass
right.
to Mwamba for 15 yards over the middle. Took a sack for 6 yards. Took a sack for 3 yards. Threw a pick on 3rd and 19.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about his run. But yeah, it is it's a rough world we live in. I think that Henderson would greatly benefit from a better line. And I hope that Paris's O-line improves, because I want to see Henderson succeed on this Paris team. Paris's fans brought it. I know it's when they pan to the stadium and stuff. Yes, it looks empty. It's because they've got a 30,000 person stadium and they've got 5,000 people there. But the fans were loud. They were rowdy. They were having a good time. And yeah, I hope the best for Paris, truly. It's not always fuck the French.
I think we got attendance numbers in.
Ooh.
So you want me to read them off?
Yeah, if you have them.
So Farivar Panthers, they say 3,000, which is low for...
Yeah, that's very low for a Vroslav game. They said we have a black quarterback. We can't be showing up like that these days. I'm sorry. That was
wow. That might need to be cut.
No,
we don't cut many things. We're a very unscripted podcast.
No, we're leaving that in. I said what I said.
Rhine Fire versus Paris has a rough estimate of 3,000.
Really? Well. It seemed like it was more than that.
apparently the stadium they're playing at is an hour and 20 minutes from Paris, which does not help at all.
What?
Okay.
It's because the Paris FC got promoted to League One and kicked the Musketeers out of the stadium they signed with.
That sucks.
So yeah, because of the soccer team getting promoted, Paris had to move to.
Okay, you're telling me that we can't have the game in like Versailles or something? Versailles is like 30 minutes away.
Yeah, I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes. I could be way
I'm
off.
looking it up right now.
Do it. Fact check me. I'll continue reading. Hamburg versus Madrid.
What a name.
Record attendance in Madrid for Tanner's little boys, 3,340.
Hey.
They had to open up extra sections for them, which is great.
Shout out.
Danny, I know that we talked about this today at work, but I love Madrid Stadium because it's one level, and so whenever people show up, it looks full, and it is so good for optics. It makes it look like people actually attend the games, which in turn make more people want to attend the games.
Same thing happened in Helvetic. I did not expect. We'll jump there real quick. Helvetic had over 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. It looked packed, but I was like, it's a small stadium. It is what it is. Maybe 1,000. 2,100.
Yeah,
crazy. And then Raiders Munich. This is apparently low for the rivalry. Only 3,300.
Okay, yeah.
It was a little chilly and rainy, so maybe people got scared. It is what it is. But the losers of the week: Cologne versus Berlin, 628.
What?
Yeah.
They had 600 people there?
628.
Wasn't it in Cologne?
It was in Berlin.
Really? I figured Berlin.
Google Berlin Stadium. It's really, really bad. It's just like a field. Literally just like a grass field. Sure. The winners of the week, though, at Gazi Stadium, the Stuttgart Surge and the Frankfurt Galaxy at 3,711.
Ooh.
Yes. And then the second losers, Vienna Vikings and the Prague Lions at roughly 1,000.
That one was in Prague, though.
Yes.
Yeah, the first home game for Vienna, that place going to be jumping.
Yeah. I'm excited for week 3 in the Rhein Fire game in Dusseldorf, Vienna versus Rhein Fire. They upgraded the stadium for that one.
Yeah, as they should.
Yeah. But so attendance, not horrible. We're averaging probably around 3,000-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Week 1.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The stadium.
Mondafel, the city that they play in. It's a suburb of France. It's suburb of France. Good Lord. It's a suburb of Paris. But it's a little bit further out. By train, it's about like an hour 13 train ride. If you have a car, it's about a 45-minute drive. It's only 4 kilometers away, which I think is like 35 miles.
Gotcha.
I don't know the conversion rate, but I think miles are a little bit longer than kilometers.
Yeah. But so hour and 13, someone probably just rounded up and said an hour and 20 for train.
Yeah. It's only 25 miles away from downtown Paris.
No, yeah, that's not horrible, but
that's not bad.
When you were playing right in downtown Paris last year, it's going to suck a little
people. Yeah, people who live in the city aren't going to want to take a train to this tiny little town.
At least they have 3,000 diehard fans.
Because, this town that they're playing in only has a population of 9,000 people, 10,000 people. So
that's brutal.
Smaller than Kent, Ohio, so that's not good,
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, hopefully they get that figured out. Because, those guys deserve to get to play in Paris,
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, so those are the awards. Now we can move forward to week 2 predictions. Oh, one more thing before I forget. Fellas, we got the international TV shout out.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Shout out Alex Malchow, who was
baby.
Yeah, Malchow was out there doing the Rhine Paris game. Did a phenomenal job on it, by the way. Alex, I know you're listening right now. You did a great job, my dude. But yeah, gave us a shout out. That was cool. That was nice. Mentioned Fourth Down Fiasco in the interview that we recently did with Tony Anderson. So speaking of which, go check that out because it's on YouTube. Now, let's move on over to week 2, shall we, fellas? First game of the week, Fervar and Throners at the Vienna Vikings.
The spread once again is plus 35.
I'm going over this week.
The last three scores were in August 2023, 21-20 Vienna, 43-18 Vienna, 46-0 Vienna.
Yeah, I'm going with the over on this one. I think that Prague has a better defense than Farivar does. And I think it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm expecting like a 56-6 type of win.
Yeah, I'm going over again.
I am as well, as much as it sucks to say. But it's not going to be like a lot over. Like, it's going to be like a 36 or 38 point game. It's not going to be like a 45 point game, you know?
I think Vienna just started too slow last week, and they all admitted it. They're like, we just didn't play well. And I think they're going to come out hungry. Yeah. Also, Farivar, you change your logo. You have all the new shirts and everything. Fix your stupid helmets.
Yeah.
Get new stickers.
Well, also with y'all mentioning that Vienna started slow last week, they did the thing where they looked at who they were playing on the calendar and they like, yeah, they did the thing that players always say that they don't do. They did. They said Prague, and that was it. And luckily, they're so over the top talented in comparison to Prague. They were fine, but they also could have done better against Prague for sure.
Yeah, but week one. It's basically preseason for teams. Well, it counts for your record, but it's preseason.
Maybe for your team because they're getting a cakewalk, but for real franchises out here that have to play in real divisions
like Madrid.
Yeah, rest in peace, Madrid.
Let's talk about the team Madrid played: the Hamburg Sea Devils versus
the Prague Lions.
Prague Lions.
Prague.
Sea Devils are plus 11.
Okay, I like that line. Too. I'm going to go.
They played each other twice, both last year. Sea Devils won twice, 31-21 and 27-17.
Ooh, okay.
A really solid line.
This is hard because it's two good defenses. Hamburg has a really good defense, as we've seen, and then Prague has a formidable up-and-coming defense. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring overall.
Yeah, and Michael Leon should be back. I haven't heard much on him. He missed the last two drives of the game last week.
Okay.
But I haven't heard anything.
I might go under on this. I still have Hamburg winning, but I think Hamburg wins by a singular tut. I think that this will be a solid game. I think it'll be a very low-scoring affair. It'll be like a 21-14. Well, excuse me. This is the ELF. A 20-13, a 19-12 type of game.
I lean the same way. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. I imagine it's going to be like a little over a touchdown game though. So I'm thinking like a 15-6. I think we might see Prague get like a touchdown, but I think honestly all of Hamburg's points might come from field goals. I think this is going to be a very defensive battle. So I could very easily see like a 15-6.
If you're relying on the Hamburg kicker, good luck.
Well, yeah, but I imagine that they're going to be there that often.
No, yeah.
Or they're at least going to make it close enough downfield that they're going to be gimme field goals. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that's fair.
I just don't think this game's going to have a lot of offensive firepower, and I think both these defenses are going to slow each other down. I just think Hamburg's going to have an easier time getting into the opposing field than Prague's going to. I think Prague's really going to struggle with getting close to the end zone.
Agreed.
No, yeah, their running back did look pretty good last year. He flirted with 100 yards, as Alex Malchow said. But I'm going to go opposite of you guys. I'm still taking the under, but I'm going to go 5 points. I think it's a 5-point game.
Fair enough.
But it's going to be 5 points.
Don't get me wrong. I hear what you're saying about the run game and everything, but Hamburg has Kyle Kitchens.
But you put him here, you run this way.
I hear what you're saying. It's still Kyle Kitchens, okay?
But you run this way.
Yeah, and whenever Kyle Kitchens is dragging two offensive linemen and is still running full speed at the right angle, it does not matter.
You just run the other way.
We'll see.
Yeah, but I have Hamburg by 5.
Okay. So we all got Hamburg.
Yeah.
All taking the under, though. So.
Yeah, we're all taking the under. then this one should be game of the week. One of the games of the week, at least.
This is going to be a fun game. Frankfurt versus Madrid. As long as Frankfurt can figure out their offense sooner.
And if Madrid's center can snap a ball.
Yeah.
But Frankfurt versus Madrid, +4 to Madrid.
I like that line.
They played each other twice last year and split it 1-1. Bravos won 46-15 the first time. The Galaxy won 37-20 the second time.
Yeah, Tanner, this is your team. How about you talk?
Okay. One, I'm sick of watching teams that don't have a good center. I mean, the Steelers didn't have a good center for a couple of years there. Madrid's center seems to have some trouble.
Cheeks.
Just snap the ball correctly. Like that's all I'm asking for with this game. I think Frankfurt's going to be a tough fight this year. I think Madrid plays them twice again. So it's evening up to, or it's looking like we're going to have a pretty good rivalry between Madrid and Frankfurt. So I'm excited to see that keep going. And when I was talking to my dad actually about this game, my dad was asking why I don't root for Frankfurt. And I was like, why would I root for Frankfurt? Apparently we lived there when I was a baby. That's where we lived in Germany.
Wow.
So he called me out and was like, you should be rooting for the team you lived the city you lived at. And I was like, well, my wife is Spanish, so Mexican.
Yeah. Well, full circle moment for you, Tanner.
Yeah, exactly. Regardless, shout out Frankfurt. I guess I lived there for a little while. So I do think it's going to be a really fun game. It's probably going to be the closest game this week, maybe besides.
There's another game that should be pretty close.
Yeah, there's a couple actually.
Yeah, there's a couple bangers on Sunday.
There's a couple of really good games on Sunday. So maybe I still think this is going to be close. I think it's going to be a touchdown game, and I think it's going to be a little bit more of a shootout than we've seen with a couple of these close games that have been good. It seems like we've been very defensive so far, but I think now that Madrid has gotten some reps in with their new quarterback, I think Sinet's really going to let it fly. And I think Frankfurt also has a great offense that is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So I'm going to go with a 35-28. Well, let's account for missed field goals or missed extra points. Let's do 34-27.
Yeah. I will say Madrid's game last week was a lot closer than it looked. Yes, there were a bunch of missed field goals, but Sinet had 3 touchdowns either missed or called back. Mm-hmm. He had Aaron Kruchenk wide open twice and overthrew him.
I was about to say.
And then when they finally did connect, there was a holding call that got called back.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking rough patch the first game. I feel like with more reps, better.
I don't think he's going to miss those throws.
Yeah. But I mean, Cruikshank was literally an NFL player. They
both were.
Oh yeah, I forget that Sinet was he a practice squad guy or did he actually like?
He learned behind Tom Brady as an undrafted free agent.
You know what? Fair enough. And so yeah, they'll figure it out offensively. I'm sure.
I'm not worried. He did say in a post-game interview by First Down Magazine, he brought an NFL cadence to the ELF, and he said that might have caused some center issues because it's a brand new thing and no one. Knows
my boy Reed, listen here, brother, you got to do that in Espanol, okay? You got uno dos tres in order to snap that ball, okay? You got do not be the American that refuses to speak Spanish.
Well, John Gruden would be proud. I don't know if you guys have seen like John Gruden's like quarterback class thing that he does on YouTube now.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
He makes all the guys he talks to sit there and give them his like cadence. So they got to sit there in this like little office
Jackson Dart,
and they're doing it, doing it a million times. So
did you see the Jackson Dart one?
Yeah, and he called him out because he's like, "You're not putting."
He doesn't have a cadence. He's like, "I just clap." He's like, "We never had one." He's like, "I just clapped twice." He's like, "That's it."
Oh, that's awesome. Danny, what do you have for the score on Frankfurt Madrid? Because we heard from Tanner about score.
I don't know. I don't think I did have like a score for half the games last week, but I'll take Madrid to cover the spread by 11 points. However you want to work on that.
I'm going to take the over. I don't think it's going to be 11. I might maybe do more of like a 9 type of thing. You know, I could see it being like a 32-23 type of affair.
If you pick Madrid to win, they're covering the spread no matter what. I just have them winning by 11. But,
No, I mean, they can win by field goal.
Yeah. So
Or safety.
what?
I don't think that with Madrid's defense that safety is the first thing that comes to mind. Going to our Sunday slate of games, this will be the first one that there will be some disagreements about. We've got the Nordic Storm at Wroclaw to face.
Depending on how this game goes, Tanner will either take the lead in the pick'ems
or you will
back behind.
Yep.
I'll go first since I'm the outlier. I'm taking the Nordic Storm.
What's the
line is plus 14.
Oh.
We know what Wroclaw can do against Farivar. But what about a good team? We don't know yet. We also don't know how Nordic is going to compare to a team better than Helvetic.
Exactly. This is my thoughts on it is that first week, Nordic, the Storm played Helvetic, which is going to be one of the bottom teams, in the league. And Wroclaw played Farivar, who worse than Helvetic, but also is one of the worst teams in the league. And they had almost the exact same difference as far as like points. One was a 50. Nordics was 56-12, and the Panthers was 55-12. So basically the exact same score.
So Nordic is 1 point better.
Well, so I don't want to. I don't think I'm allowed to break this news, so I'm not going to break the news entirely. I will say there is a very important person on the Storm's roster who is not going to be there on Sunday. Yeah. And so with that, I think that gives the Panthers just enough. And I think if the Panthers win this one, I'm going to be a DJ Irons believer. Not just friend of the pod, but a believer. No.
Whitmer, come on. You were talking about him. RB2, Nordic Storm, Whitmer.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. That white man named Anton who excites me a lot. I understand. He's you know that meme in the wine shop where it says exciting whites? That is Anton, okay?
I think the Storm are going to just even the spread at plus 14. I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Fair enough.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not a coward, so I had to make sure to pick an upset. So I wasn't going to pick all the favorites once again. That was lame last week, and unfortunately, it worked out. But it's not going to keep working out. So I'm expecting DJ Irons to put on a masterclass. I think he's going to have at least 100 yards on the ground.
For sure.
I think he's going to have, at minimum, 3 touchdowns, but I'm expecting 4 or 5 total. So I think DJ Irons is going to go off. I'm very excited to see how he's going to do in the ELF. And I think this Wrocław team is, I think they're hungry. They had a really bad season last year from their expectations. They were supposed to be a lot better. They had a ton of quarterback drama. I think they believe in DJ Irons. I think they're going to let him rip. I think they're going to. And I mean, we saw with Nordic, they struggled against Isaiah Weed running out of the pocket.
Yep.
And I think DJ Irons is a better athlete than Isaiah Weed. No offense to Isaiah Weed. But I think Nordic's going to struggle a lot with that. And like you said, when we were talking about the injury, that's a big injury. And I think although it's not going to necessarily bring Nordic super far down, there's still going to be a very heavy hitter in the playoff, like a playoff contender. But I think it's going to be a big enough shock that they have to rework how they're going to game plan offensively, that I think Wrocław, especially at home, can swing up, punch up, and steal one, right?
Yeah. The thing I was talking to Jordan about this today, Nordic game plan going into this game isn't going to be on the ground. You don't run against Wrocław. They're the number 1 rushing defense.
Yeah.
Nordic's going into this game pass heavy. So outside of Burrell, they don't really have much to talk about on defense in the secondary because they used that other A import on Wetland, which great pickup. I'm not saying anything outside of that, but you have 4 or 5 guys on the offense for Nordic that can catch passes. They're just going to beat you through the air.
But you make one mistake and you throw it Burrell's way.
You just stay clear of Burrell.
But it could happen, right? I mean, you can disguise coverage. You can have them on one player, have them shift off to another player during a play.
Does Burrell cover or is he a safety? I forget. I don't know if he plays corner or safety.
I'm with Tanner on this one. I think that just the matchup, the type of team that Wrocław is the type of team that we will see Nordic probably struggle with, just because they don't do as well with mobile quarterbacks. DJ Irons is probably the fastest quarterback in the league, on top of, Nordic, because of Tunga and Anton, like they do like to be run heavy, even though, yes, Jadrian Clark is a phenomenal quarterback and I will always put respect on that man's name.
You don't want to make another quarterback mad and make him throw for 500 yards?
No, I'm all right. But,
shit. I mean, Ben Holmes proved you wrong. Jadrian.
I mean, I am talking my shit. What do you mean? I'm saying that the Panthers are still going to win.
You caught yourself though and said Jadrian's a good player, not going to do this, but.
Well, yeah, because you don't fanboy for Jadrian the way that you fanboy for Ben Holmes, so I have to be an asshole somewhere.
So now we have to fanboy for DJ Irons because he's that guy.
Yeah, hey, look, it's all God's plan, brother. He says it himself. It's God's plan.
But besides this game, I will say we should learn a lot about the teams this week.
Yes,
just all the matchups. Really. We'll see where Prague and Hamburg line up. Like Prague is supposed to be pretty decent. Hamburg's supposed to be pretty bad. Is there gap closer? Is there gap closer? Same with Frankfurt and Madrid. Who knows? And this will be a test for Wrocław and Nordic. Like we will see where teams fall at the end of this week.
Yep.
And I do want to iterate here. I still think Nordic, top to bottom, is the better team. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Nordic Storm.
Yeah.
And especially with this being in Poland, that gives them the edge. They're going to be in front of their fans. I think they played in Poland in week 1 too, right? So they're not doing any traveling.
Correct.
Yeah, they'll be fresh. Yeah. I'm with Tanner on that one.
And regardless of this, I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I am going to be really upset if it's a blowout either way. And more likely if it would be a blowout, it would be for the Nordic. But it would really suck for me to gas up Wrocław this hard, and then all of a sudden they lose by 21.
Poor Nordic. They really started their career while having to travel to Switzerland and Poland. It's like, besides Madrid, that's like the two furthest teams.
Well, at least the first week they're in Denmark, right? Their main stadium?
Copenhagen. Oh, yeah, Denmark, Copenhagen.
So, I mean, that's not too far from Wrocław, because Wrocław is Western Poland. So it's probably only a few hours, actually.
Well, they flew to Switzerland, so I don't know if they're going to fly to
Wrocław. Yeah, that's kind of a far journey.
Apparently, the Nordic Storm have money that other teams don't.
They don't have to take the bus.
I wouldn't want to take a bus ride from Copenhagen to Zurich or wherever.
Dude, it would be beautiful. What are you talking about?
It would be beautiful, but not for a weekend. These other homegrowns have jobs.
Yeah, a 36-hour, round trip. I'm all right.
The Enthroners game, where'd they play? Who'd they play?
Are you talking about this week or
week 1? Who did they just play?
Wrocław.
They played Wrocław.
Oh, yeah. It was a 10-hour bus ride. They got there the day before and then left after the game to drive home.
Man, got belt to ass and then had to scurry on home. Crazy.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Well, I'm going to rein us back in here and mention what should probably be the game of the week. At least I think it's going to. We're going to have some really good games, especially on Sunday. But the Stuttgart Surge are going to be at Paris facing the Musketeers. We're going to learn, I think, more about Paris this week than we're going to learn about Stuttgart.
Correct.
What is the line for this game?
So last week was +1 to Paris. Now it's +2 to the Surge.
I'm taking the over on that.
And the Surge have beat Paris twice, both in 2023. They did not play last year, 29-20 and 14-6. But Paris has a brand new team. Same with Stuttgart. So
I'm taking Stuttgart by 14.
14.
And when I say that, it's going to be a good game until Paris tries to force something down the stretch to try and get there, and then Stuttgart's going to make them pay.
Kind of a Munich Tyrol last week.
Yeah. That's exactly what I think is going to happen.
I say I'm exaggerating at your plus 14. I'm going to say they win by 10. So,
Word.
I'm going to meet you in the middle, and I'm going to say they win by 12.
Ooh.
I don't know how they're going to pull it off. They're gonna do it. It's going to be 12 points. I wanted to go 14, but I didn't want to copy. So.
We're really just making Paris mad. They commented on one of our posts. We made them the Fiasco.
I know. We're talking shit about their
line. They're losing by double digits.
I mean, they have the toughest first 2 weeks of any team in the EL.
They had to go 5.
Yeah, because they also have to play Vienna not next week, but the week after.
No,
right?
they play Frankfurt next week. Then they go back to Rhine. Then they play Frankfurt again before they get Cologne.
And then
they play Vienna twice at the end of the year.
There we go.
Oh my God, they might miss the playoffs.
They might. I could see them going 6-6.
That's rough. That sucks, dude.
That's a brutal schedule.
They have a shot at missing the playoffs because they have a impossible schedule.
Yeah, the worst.
They got shafted.
And if Paris is upset, look at our power rankings. We all put them at like 5 or something. Like we all think they're good. Like
they're good if they had an easy schedule.
Yeah, it's just
or even just an intermediate schedule.
Yeah, any team with this schedule is going to struggle. Like, the Rhine Fire, if they had this schedule, would struggle. Like, well, I guess they have a similar schedule besides Stuttgart, but it's like it's brutal. Stuttgart, Vienna, and Rhine. That's the top 3 teams.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so we all have Stuttgart on that one, 10, 12, and 14. Next on our list, Berlin versus Munich. This should be a pretty darn good game. What's the line on this one, Daniel?
You say it's going to be a good game. They gave Tyrol plus 21.
Not Tyrol. Berlin and Munich.
Oh, sorry. I'm going right next to. Never mind. Berlin and Munich. Munich is a plus 13.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, 21 is crazy for me. I think Munich's going to win. Don't get me wrong, but
I don't know. Maybe Jake Sullivan goes out there just mean mugging and big thugging and just throws, 5-6 touchdowns. We don't know.
Secondary is a little bit better than Cologne's.
This is true.
Their D line is really good. Their linebacker core is really good.
Munich has a good defense. This game does intrigue me. I am probably going to go Munich. I don't think they're going to cover the spread though. I think it's going to be a close game. I think
this should be a really good game.
I think it'll be a 1-tud affair, probably 6 points because, missed extra points and stuff. But I think that this will be like a 24-18 type of game.
Yeah. Tabor looked really good last week. So I think he's only going to continue to learn or continue to develop in this league. Rodney, like I said earlier in the episode, 103 yards, 15 carries, looked great. And then Malik Stanley. It's like, it's going to be hard to stop him. I think each quarterback's probably going to throw for 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. Like it might be a shootout. I could see it, but I'm going to go Munich at 7 or 6 because of extra points.
Hey, so we both did 6. I like that. Thank you, Danny. Tanner,
I'm gonna have Munich win by a little bit more. I'm gonna go with 9 field goal and a touchdown with a missed extra point, as you have to do here in this league. Yeah. So I'm expecting like a 30-21 game. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring. I think there's going to be some offense going, but I think Munich is probably going to get a turnover this game, and I think that's what's going to be the difference.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I like it. All right, then the last game on our docket, and Danny, you already did the line, but you're more than welcome to do it
plus
again.
21.
Yep, plus 21. Raiders to roll over the Helvetic Mercenaries. The Mercenaries are having to travel to Tyrol, which I know it's not that far distance-wise, but because it's in the mountains, probably takes some time. So
true. I'll start, but I think plus 21 is a little egregious. Tyrol didn't look too good last week. Their import wide receiver didn't do jack, 3 catches for like 20 yards or something like that. Helvetic didn't look bad until the second half. And that's just like we said, against a title contender team. We don't see the Raiders a title contender team.
It's not at this point, especially.
I can't say the Mercs will win just from the history, but I think the Raiders win by like 10, not 21.
Yeah, I think 21's kind of a big spread to cover.
Insult.
Yeah. And, Helvetic has added some additions. They do have a legitimate NFL wide receiver, a man who has made over $15 million in his NFL career. So,
you could buy the Helvetic mercenaries.
Truly, yes, which is wild. So, yeah, I could see this being a game where maybe the mercenaries, put up some points. I'm going to say Raiders to roll by... I'm gonna do 12.
Yeah,
they still in handy, but not that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're gonna win by 2 touchdowns. I still think Tyrole's gonna win. I think Tyrol is the better roster, top to bottom. Even though they did struggle against Munich, like I said, to the inverse of it, it was still a very close game. 3.5 minutes left to go. If Tyrol was able to get their offense moving at all, they would have had a better game. And I think they will have their offense moving better against Helvetic. I don't know if their defense will do just as good as they did against Munich. I'm sure they'll still have a pretty good game. So it's going to be a little bit of higher scoring, but I'd say probably like a 10-point game. Do like 33-23. I don't know, something like that.
The Raiders center did pull a Madrid center a couple times, a couple bad snaps. So hopefully they can clean that up as well.
Yeah.
Well, and also the one thing that from the box score with Munich, again, Raiders Tyrol's defense was allowing a lot of stuff to happen. They benefited, from some turnovers. And yes, you can say that they forced those turnovers, but I would at least say that the fumble was more so caused because bad weather conditions, because that game was kind of nasty. So I'm not sold on Raider Tyrol's defense is what I'm saying. So yeah, I could see Keelan Cole this being his marquee game where we blink and we're like, oh shit, he had 200 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. So
yeah,
we shall see. Yeah. Any last thoughts, fellas?
Whoever made the schedule has been doing a good job, and it will continue into week 3.
Hell yeah. No, I don't think it's just the schedule. I also think that these teams figured out some things. I think that the top teams are still the top teams, yes, but I think that the teams that are in the middle and even towards the bottom figured out ways to excel in the margins and really close that gap. And so it's just
the wild card race will be crazy.
Brutal. Yes. We're going to see a lot of teams that end the season somewhere between, 5-7 and 7-5. And yeah, people are going to be fighting for that last, wild card spot for sure. It's going to be incredible.
A good team is going to be left out, which is crazy.
Yes.
I think what helps with the ELF a lot too is just with how close we are to everything. It's really easy for us to sit down and root for almost every team in the ELF, which I think makes it a lot of fun because pretty much in every other sports league I consume, I'm a hater for a lot of teams. Not like a lot of teams, but there's a few. There's a few teams that I genuinely just despise. And now that the Milano Seamen are gone, I don't really have a team that I can just sit there and dogpile on every week. So it's a lot of fun this season where I'm like, I kind of want every team to do well. And I'm like almost like cheerleading every franchise because we've just talked to so many people through the ELF. We've talked to so many different players. I'm just kind of rooting for all of these guys to do super well. And, as long as Milano doesn't come back, I'm sure that's going to continue to happen with the ELF.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for sure. A lot of guys you can root for. Something that I appreciate from this season that has improved since last season is there's actual shit talking on the field. Like guys got
chippy.
Yeah, guys were getting in each other's grill last week, and it just made it fun. Don't get me wrong, football is football. A one-handed catch in the end zone is its own thing, and a big hit's its own thing. But last year, guys were just a little too friendly with each other, and I get it. It's may not necessarily be the culture. I couldn't tell you because I don't live in Europe, but might be a difference in culture. But I am used to American football where people talk shit. You get a big hit, you stand over the guy and you flex. You moss a guy in the end zone and you're face mask to face mask with him, letting you know, hey, bruh, you just got put on a poster. I'll see you on Sports Center top 10 this weekend, big boy. Like, I'm used to that kind of stuff, and we finally got that this past week, and it was great.
Like Paris and Ryan do not like each other.
Paris and Ryan do not like each other, and it was awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
They got chippy. I'm trying to remember.
Stuttgart and Frankfurt got chippy in the first half.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, wasn't that the game where one of the guys from no, it wasn't that game. One of the guys was talking to one of the chain gang people, which was hilarious.
Yeah, the chain gang was like,
yeah, dude, that was great. Munich,
Tyrell and Munich got chippy as well. They don't like each other.
They don't like each other. And so, yeah, I'm glad that we're finally getting to a point now where, it's not all buddy. Yes, like I am all cool if once you're off the field, you're all about respect and love and admiration for people. That's how the game should be played. Yeah. But while you're on the field, you should absolutely hate the person that you're lined up against. So, I thought that was a lovely breath of fresh air this past week. So, yeah, Danny, any last thoughts from you since Tanner and I were blabbing, or are you good?
I'm good.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody so much for listening. This has been the Fourth Down Fiasco. You can follow us on social media. We are at _pod on Twitter, and we're at Fourth Down Fiasco on Instagram and TikTok. Definitely continue to check in throughout the week. We've been putting out awards. We'll continue to do so. We'll continue to get more player interviews. I'm sure we probably have something cooking right now. I don't have any, but I'm sure Danny might have some. And yeah, with that, thanks so much for listening. We will see y'all next week to talk about week 2 because we're so excited. Let's go.
Peace.
Patriots in 6.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.